Just because I'm losing doesn't mean I'm lost. Doesn't mean I'll stop. Doesn't mean I'm across. Just because I'm hurting doesn't mean I'm hurt. Doesn't mean I didn't get what I deserve. No better and no worse. I just got lost. Every river that I tried to cross, every door I ever tried was locked. Oh, and I'm just waiting till the shine wears off. You might be a big fish in a little pond. Doesn't mean you've won, 'cause along may come a bigger one, and you'll be lost. Every river that you try to cross, every gun you ever had went off. Oh, and I'm just waiting till the firing starts. Oh, and I'm just waiting till the shine wears off.
La mission en Haïti évolue constamment. J'ai eu la chance de rencontrer le capitaine de corvette Ian Cook qui nous raconte ses expériences personnelles ainsi que les changements qu'il a observés à cet endroit.
The UN mission in Haiti is constantly evolving. Sergeant Como met Lieutenant Commander Ian Cook, who tells us about his personal experiences and the changes he has seen there.
It's just, you wonder how anyone can live on these places when the storms and the rains come.
Yeah.
You'd think they'd all have been washed away decades ago.
I was here before, quite a few years ago, back in the late 70s, only for 10 days. And some of the changes that I've noticed and commented on is that there's been a lot more infrastructure in the way of roadworks. There's better drainage in some parts of the city here in Cité Soleil. They have concrete sewer drains and that, whereas it used to be just dug out dirt ditches that filled and collapsed. So that's a little bit better. There's much less smoke throughout the city. When I was here last, almost everybody cooked with charcoal in their backyards, and in the morning when you got up, it was very pronounced, very strong, burning smell of charcoal throughout the city. You don't get that so much now. So there are improvements being made.
This is Cité Soleil, Haiti's most violent and rejected neighborhood. It's a place of rebellion, confusion, and grinding poverty. Once the richest nation in the Caribbean, it's now the poorest. 80% of Haitians are out of work. Hopeful and desperate for change, the country's celebrating the election of their new president, René Préval, an ally of former dictator Aristide. Préval has now inherited what amounts to a failed state, where kidnapping is now the only growth industry. It's the kidnap capital of the world, where abductions have now escalated to more than 160 a month. Human rights campaigners like Anne Sossin are overwhelmed.
In some war zones, you'd find less violence than you find in Cité Soleil. Violence is very commonplace, and it's not only men in armed gangs that are involved in violence. The whole population becomes dragged into this situation, you might say. You see children that are armed, you see women that are forced in some way to participate in this type of violence.
The aggression is fueled by racial tension. The black majority feel abandoned by the French-speaking elite, with 1% of them controlling more than half the country's wealth. Rioting is an inevitable consequence.
Cité Soleil Primary School lies at the heart of this festering slum, where more than 1,000 women have reported being raped in the last year. And all around us are the houses where dozens of kidnap victims are brought daily, while the local residents are paid off to turn a blind eye.
Despite their dire poverty, 11-year-old Lou Bear and his 7 siblings are making the best of life. Lou Bear's never met his father, is unlikely to go to school, and lives in constant fear of his life. He's grown up here where 300,000 people are crammed into just 5 square kilometers. Nothing works. It ground to a halt years ago. The water supply overflows with waste, and sewage stagnates in the streets. Each day, Lou Bear scratches a living selling fish. But for many, crime is the only way to make a living. Everyone's a target. Danny, a wealthy trader, is no exception.
2 guys came up with guns. They kidnapped me and my friend. And there, another group of guys came. They kidnapped me from my first kidnappers. They brought me somewhere in a bunch of little rooms where there were a lot more people that were kidnapped, and there were a bunch of kids with guns.
After 4 days, Danny's family were forced to pay a hefty ransom.
They paid $37,000 US, which is a lot of money. And I got released on my birthday. I prayed a lot, but I never want to go through that again.
It's easy to spot the men responsible for the kidnappings. Less easy to film them. This is Amarel, the godfather of the gangsters, filmed with a hidden camera.
Amarel, can we go and eat together?
Unsurprisingly, Amarel turned down my generous offer of a free lunch. But after some delicate negotiations, I was introduced to a member of his gang who offered to be my guide. He'd lost his leg in a turf war. Through him, I met another kidnapper, T-Blanc, who claims to be a freedom fighter, battling for his people.
Can we go somewhere else and have the conversation? Can we go off the street?
Situation peuple Cité Soleil et ça c'est un état critique et nous-mêmes en tant que militants responsables population fait nous crédibles et n'a bataille pour nous sortir Cité Soleil dans situation qui était pour nous tirer dans la misère et côté bagaille qu'on voit dans film réalité dans Cité Soleil.
In a country so poor, the economics of kidnapping have become irresistible, with many gangs carrying out the dirty work of Haiti's political factions. In fact, it was President Preval's local campaign manager who first introduced me to the gang leader Amarel. It would seem Preval has the ability to turn the kidnappings on or off. Victims agree that politicians are behind many of the kidnappings. One, a former public servant, was too scared to show his face, but blames the previous government.